We are back with another episode of From the Rafters. Sam and I are here recording on Thursday, May 26th, the day after the Celtics took a 3-2 lead in the Eastern Conference Finals, one win away from their first finals berth since 2010, 5 wins away from their first title win since 2008.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm not saying they're going to win the title. I'm just stating the facts. That's how many wins are there. I'm not trying to anger the basketball gods or anything, but we'll just start with game five. Pretty good response in the second half after a very down first half. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, if you really enjoyed Jack and I, we did a halftime stream yesterday, and we probably will continue to do so going forward. I think we put out some good content in that stream. I thought it was a pretty good
Good
stream. At
time.
least I was fired up because I was so aggravated that the Celtics were doing that thing where they were clearly the better team and had the opportunity to pull away, but they were losing at halftime because they gave up a bunch of offensive rebounds and turned the ball over a bunch. And I came in halftime
Shocker.
and complained a lot, and you complained a lot, but you complained about different things than I did. And they came out in the second half and kind of fixed everything we were all complaining about, which was offensive rebounds, turnovers. You were complaining about shot making,
Yep.
and you got everything you could have asked for in the second half, which is great. You won a game that was not looking good on the road, a pivotal game five. Mind you, what happened with the Milwaukee Bucks last series, so don't get on your high horse too much.
Yep.
But you need to treat the next game, game six, like it's a game seven and continue to do things you did well in game six, which is play defense. They had some excellent rotations throughout the game. They played really good. And also, Miami has shot really poorly the last two games, not just yesterday. They shot really bad in game four, too. There's rumblings their guys are hurt, which is fine. Like, I mean, everybody's
Possible.
hurt. Everybody's
Yep.
hurt right now. I'm sorry, like everyone's hurt.
I mean, they
And
said
I
a Ty Lue
respect
on the
them for going out there and playing.
yeah, they said a Ty Lue quote on the broadcast last night, and it was
Yep.
essentially everyone's hurt and everyone's playing. That's how it is. Like that's the playoffs. That's what it's going to be. Eric Spoelstra talked about it after the game. He said, we're not going to make any excuses. Boston beat us. There's no injuries. Like that we're going to use as reasons we lost. Boston beat us. That is it. Let's be clear about that. And respect to him. It is what it is. Um, Happy for the Celtics. They played well. They did everything they needed to do in the second half. Derek White. I mean, I'll keep saying it. He was phenomenal. Again, he was even better, I would argue,
Yes.
in game five than he was in game four, and he was good in game four. But I want to start with the guy that I've shit talked more than a lot of people in the past few days. Jaylen Brown, one of the most miraculous turnarounds we've seen. I
Miraculous.
I mean, it was incredible. He was a
Maybe
completely different
drastic.
player.
It's not a miracle that he all of a
It
sudden
was
remembered how
it
to
was a
play basketball.
completely different player in the second half, and I wrote about it today, and I
Yep.
compared it to the Celtics in
Yep.
this season.
I've seen
That is
that.
what Jaylen Brown did. The Celtics went from a 500 team struggling to get into the play-in, and then in the second half of the season, they're now fighting for the NBA Finals. Jaylen Brown went from shooting 2 for 7 from the field and turning the ball over 4 times of Boston's, 10 first half turnovers, not being able to dribble, to the best player on the court. Like it was amazing to see him do that. At the same time, I saw a lot of people on Twitter, specifically in Keith Smith's mentions, and I got some comments as well saying like, "Why don't you wait till the end? But you look like an idiot now." And it's like, no, because if a player's playing poorly, you're allowed to point it out. That's the
Mm.
point. Like this isn't just because he played well in the second half doesn't mean he didn't play poorly in the first half. It doesn't completely take away from the horrendous like that argument doesn't make sense to me. I'll give him credit. I'll say like obviously he was the reason the Celtics won the game. He was amazing in that second half. You can't say enough good things about Jaylen Brown in the second half. No turnovers, which is amazing. It's just awesome as well. But to say you were wrong about Jaylen Brown is incorrect because he was awful in the first half. He just happened to be amazing in the second.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I really don't think you can be wrong about somebody if you're like saying what's happening right in front of you. You know, like you can't be wrong about him turning the ball over when he's turning the ball over. Good for Jaylen Brown. He got it together in the second half, and specifically, there was a step back or a pullback jumper he hit on a drive over Vincent and Butler, and you could just tell that play gave him his confidence back. And after the game, Ime Udoka was asked about like what he said to Jalen because Jalen was really playing poorly, and he was like, "I told him this has been going on for 5 games. It's enough. It's enough."
Which is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
But you said Jaylen Brown winning the game, and I kind of disagree. I think Horford was the driving force yesterday.
It's
But
fair.
it was absolutely a team effort. But Horford kind of lit the flame. He came out in the third quarter and really pushed the issue. He came out, scores the first bucket of the half on a lob, makes a nice coast to coast move for an and one, I think. Has a couple of
Yep,
nice
that was
plays.
huge.
He's been engaged these last 2 games. And I don't know if we want to jump into it now because we barely talked about anything. We're only 6 minutes in, but and it's a little too early to be talking about it because they
Fuck
still have
it.
another game
Run
to
it.
play.
Run it.
But they are giving out an award for this series
They are.
called the Larry Bird Award. For those of you who don't know, and it's the
I'll
Eastern
look up the
Conference
stats while you
Finals
say this.
MVP, which is new this year, the 75th year. They've decided to
Is it
scrap all the good-looking trophies for the season awards.
Yeah,
They all get
right?
these
That's what I'm
stupid
saying.
like snow globes, which I was very disappointed in. And the Western Conference Award is called the Magic Johnson Award. Just conference
Is it
finals MVPs.
That's what I was gonna ask. Is it conference finals or is it Eastern Conference playoffs?
No, it's the conference finals, I believe.
Okay.
You can double
Okay.
check, but I'm pretty sure that's what it
I
is.
was confused at what the award was.
It's for this series. But the cool part is, I mean, I'd imagine Larry Bird will be there
It is
to
it is
present
finals. Yeah.
the award, which that dude never shows up. I mean, that's just how he is. Like he's not
He's gonna do a
like
video call.
he just like never is really out and about, which is just how he's been.
No,
It's
I
not
know. I was joking. I said he's not gonna be there. He's gonna do a
yeah,
video call or some
that
shit
would be
instead.
brutal. But people there are going to be pumped for him to be there, so they better take care of business on Friday. But
Mhm.
really, what I'm trying to speak about, I'm just vomiting all these words, is Horford might be the conference finals MVP.
He could be. He
He's
could be.
had
It
some
depends
monster
on
games.
Yes, I think it depends on how voters vote. Because if you're voting by the stats, as much as it's gonna make me eat my words, it's Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown has been the Eastern Conference Finals MVP based on the stats alone. If you're not watching the game and you're looking at the stats, Jaylen Brown has averaged 25 points, shooting 48% from the field, 44% from three, taking the most shots, the most threes, averaging 7.6 rebounds, 2 assists,
If he
uh,
wasn't turning the
three
ball over, he'd be
turnovers.
fire. You'd be like, this dude is taking a leap.
Exactly. Exactly my point. I mean, Jayson Tatum is shooting poorly from three, so he probably won't get that nod. He's also turning the ball over 5 times a game, which is wow. But um, Al Horford's up there as well. I think Derek White has a sneaky chance.
Hmm.
Um, as crazy as that is to say, but because of the visual impact, like what you're seeing, Al Horford's averaging 13, 9, and almost 4, 3.5, and 2.5 blocks. So that'll give him a good chance as well. Marcus Smart. I mean, it'll really be a toss up. Like I said, I'm curious to see how they vote for the awards. Like, is it just going to be stat based? Or you never know. If the Celtics close it out in 6 and Jayson Tatum drops 50, they'll probably give it to him. But I don't know how it's going to be voted for because it is a new award. But if you had to pick, who would you give it to?
That's a tough question because I think you can point to the top guys, right? Like I heard on the radio today on Touch and Rich, they have like Joe Murray on, who has done our show
Hmm.
before. Shout out to him. Um,
Hmm.
they always like talk about betting, and so they were talking about the odds for this award, and Tatum is like the favorite, -2 something,
Which makes sense.
and I think
But
Brown was next, but like Horford, Rob Williams, and Derek White are all like super like high odds. Like it's like plus 6,000 for Horford or something like that. So if you're a bettor, I would bet with Horford or maybe Rob Williams. The argument for Rob Williams is like, hey, when he plays, like they just dominate.
I think the only issue with those latter three guys is they've all missed time in the series,
They've
which is the
missed
only
time and also the stats aren't like super dominant. It's just like
exactly.
Rob Williams, more specifically than any of them, has just had a dominating effect on these games that he's played in.
Yes.
I
I
mean,
couldn't
even
agree more.
yesterday, what did he have? Like 6 points or something, but he blocked 2 perimeter shots, 2 corner threes.
Yeah.
And like
PJ Tucker is nothing.
he's a
Can't
big
get
part
anything.
of that rotating defense. There were some plays where guys were getting beat, and he started when the shooter caught the ball on the block and got out to the 3-point line and blocked the shot on Tucker and Vincent. He
Yeah.
could have
I
saved
mean,
them 6 points there, probably momentum plays. Like it was a close game in that third quarter for a while.
he's got PJ Tucker in jail. PJ Tucker's not allowed to shoot corners.
Bam's a head case with Robin there.
Bam is Did you hear what they were doing? I saw this on Twitter. Whenever Bam caught the ball, the crowd was yelling at him to shoot. I told you before the
They just seemed
series.
like they were really into it. Like they were like, all right, like we really like Bam. We saw he had 30 points in game 3,
Mm.
and we all realized that in the bubble he dominated that series. So for Miami to be competitive, he has to be good. So
I
they were like
told you
trying to
before the
encourage him.
series and throughout the season, there has been a call from Heat fans for Bam to take more shots, and
Yes,
he
you
just
did.
kind of doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Like he just doesn't. He's not as aggressive as people want him to be, which is a huge. And you're seeing that firsthand right now. Like in the second half, the latter portion of that game, he took over. Right, he was getting some of those looks, but at that point, it didn't matter because the Celtics were already up by so much. I
Yeah,
was
he
listening
scored
to
8
Kenny.
straight.
Yeah, I was listening to Kenny. Shout out KOT4Q. He was talking about it, and he's like, Bam is that guy, who everyone around him knows how good he can be, except for him. Like he just won't. He just won't like be aggressive enough to be the top option. You saw that, and on top of that, man, everybody else in that rotation looked rough. Jimmy Butler
Good.
couldn't make anything. Kyle
Good.
Lowry is obviously hurt. Victor Oladipo came down from the high in
Good.
game 4. Like it's shambles for Miami right now. And I'm not going to say they can't come back and win the series because you don't want to,
You
you
don't
know,
want to feel like
curse
you jinxed
anything.
it.
And they're obviously the number 1 seed for a reason. So when they play their best basketball, they're a good team. But right now, they're clearly not playing their best basketball, and the Celtics are causing that. But at the same time, like I'm not saying like I don't want it to come across as me saying, "Oh, Miami's only losing because they're injured." No, the Celtics are beating their ass, and
Doesn't
that's the
seem like
point.
you're saying that.
But Miami's injured. They're not playing their best basketball. I saw this on Twitter. I forget who said it. If you come out and punch them in the mouth in game 6, they're going to start thinking about Cabo and Cancun and
I
everything else
agree.
they're going afterwards.
They might already
So,
be thinking
yeah,
about it, to be honest with you. The only
exactly.
downfall is like they basically already have that weather, like where they play, so they might be thinking about like I don't know, Europe or something. They might get creative, but
Yeah, my bad. You're right. My fault.
you
My
know,
fault. Should have
like
thought of that.
it doesn't might not really
Paris.
feel like a vacation.
Yeah, maybe they're going to
Perhaps
Paris.
Paris. Jimmy's a big
The
PSG guy.
Alps. Yeah.
But as far as Miami playing down or not playing as well is it's payback for the bubble because you had a bunch of guys play way better than they should have, and now you have a bunch of guys playing not as good as they should, or at least that's the consensus. And to me, it feels more level. Like it's like okay, this is like kind of how they should be playing. After game 1, I was like, now I think Jimmy Butler's hurt, so take this with a grain of salt. But I came out and I was like, I don't really think he should be doing that. I'm sorry, like he can score a lot of points, but he shouldn't be that efficient, and he hasn't been. He hasn't even in game 2,
After
he
those
scored,
first
like,
2
a good amount of
games.
points, but he still wasn't, like, super duper efficient. It wasn't
In game 2,
ridiculous like game 1. He was still pretty good, but it wasn't like,
I think he
you
shot
know
like 50 something percent in game 2.
yeah, that's fine, but he was, like, 65 in game 1.
Yeah,
It
it
was
was it was it
ridiculous.
was ridiculous. Yes.
And he made some dumb shots, like, where it was
Mhm.
momentum stopping shots, like
Now,
the fall away over Tatum.
correct
Ridiculous.
me if I'm wrong. The Heat have not won a game this series where Al and Rob both play, right?
That is true.
I mean, and when the Celtics have won, it hasn't really been close, right? Like you saw, and my prediction for the first quarter and first half yesterday during pregame was correct. I said the Heat were going to win the first quarter because they were going to come to play after a loss, and then I said the Celtics were going to bounce back. I said it was going to be the closest game in the series so far because the Celtics knew they had to come to play after a win, and Miami was going to be frustrated after a loss. That happened, but then in the second half, whether it was Miami lost their legs, Boston stopped making mistakes, which they did, and Boston hit shots Miami didn't. Like the Celtics took off and showed you why they are, dare I say, the better team in the series. They have been the better team in this series.
They've
They
dominated this series.
yes. So
It's laughable that the series is still going on. Not laughable, but it's, like, kind of, uh, annoying, to be honest with
I'll put
you.
it this way. I'll back your argument. Both of us probably would have sat here and said Celtics in 6 or 7 before the
I did
series.
say
But
6.
with the way the games have been going and the way the Celtics have played and collapsed at moments, they should have finished it off already.
They should have been done already. It's I mean, listen, I think they're gonna play in game 6 and come to play. It's not a cheap ticket to go tomorrow, but if you can go, enjoy it because it's gonna be
Have you
some
seen the ones for the
atmosphere.
finals? They're already selling finals tickets,
Listen,
dude.
if you want to go to the finals, do
Jeez.
not panic looking at the prices because you have to understand those tickets have not been released to the public yet. So the only people selling finals tickets are season ticket holders.
True.
The Celtics have not had a NBA finals sale yet on their website.
Okay. Smart
By the way,
on
I
that.
think I may try and go just because I don't know if you'll ever get
I
to
was
see
looking
that
at it
again.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
if they get there, you got to take advantage of the opportunity. I would
Yes.
agree with you. Zoe and
But
I might try to hit one.
to backtrack a bit, I think Miami just seems cooked. Not mentally, because those guys are tough. Jimmy Butler's tough. You saw in the
Physically,
bubble
though.
what he did. Those dudes are cooked physically. Lowry cooked. Strus is cooked. They're going at him on defense, and he's exhausted. He's a little injured. Like that backcourt scored what? How many points in 2 games? They made 1 field goal over 2 games, I think.
Yeah.
Strus got some
Yeah.
free
I
throws
don't know how many.
yesterday, but they've been like historically bad. If I'm
Yeah.
Miami, I might sit Lowry and just see if you get lucky.
I mean, as rough as this is to say, outside of that first quarter in game 3 when Larry came back, Gabe Vincent's been better. Is that crazy of me to say?
No, it's
Like,
not crazy.
and
It's
that's not a
true.
knock on Lowry. That's a knock on his injury. Like, I just don't think
Lowry wasn't even good in
needs to be
game
out there.
3, Jack. He
In
blended
the
in
first
because
quarter,
Miami won.
I just said in the first quarter when he came out and he was feeding Bam and like getting the offense going. That's the only time we saw good Lowry. And then once it started to wear on him, it was kind of done.
I mean, this
Yeah.
series should be over. They pissed away game 3. They really kind of did the same for game 1. Game 1 probably more than game 3 just because that third quarter was so horrific,
They should have won
partly
game 1.
because of Miami, but also like they were just like so
They were
apathetic.
giving
They
it to
didn't
him.
care.
Hmm.
It was like mind-boggling to watch. Like you're in the conference finals, you're literally handing the ball to Jimmy Butler and saying, "Go dunk it."
My thing is this should have been a 5-game series because I give Miami game 3. Like, the Celtics didn't come out right, but they earned that win. They went ahead that much, yes.
Mm.
Game 1, you fed them the ball in the 3rd
Yep.
quarter. Like, not saying Miami didn't deserve to win that one as well, but the Celtics should have won. There's a difference between deserving and should. Like, because the Celtics, if they had just, as Greeny says on Twitter all the time, if you literally just don't play like the worst team in basketball for 12 minutes, then you win the game. So,
I tweeted after game
yeah.
3. I said if the Celtics weren't the absolute worst, they'd be up 3-0.
Yes,
All
that's
they have
what
to
it
do is
is.
not be the absolute worst. And it's proven true. Look at that. I mean, they were pretty bad in game 5. They weren't the absolute worst. And they won by a
Yep.
lot.
Yep. By 13, I think it was.
By
13 points.
13, and it was 23 in the 4th.
Mhm. It was another one of those, they won by more than what the final
Mhm.
score was. Like, I'm sorry, game 4 was a 20-point victory. That was not a 20-point victory. That was 30. That was a 30 piece
Game
at
was
the
over
very
in the
least.
second quarter.
Yep.
Do that again, please.
Please. I
And to
think
all the
they
people complaining that these games aren't close on Twitter, your team's not involved, so go kick rocks.
well, that's why they're complaining.
Dude, do what I do when my team's not involved. I just go screw. I go do something else.
Well,
I
some
don't
people like the
complain that the
NBA.
games aren't good. I say enjoy it. I pay attention. I go on Twitter. I see who's winning the games. Sam, you're not a real fan of the game. Nah, I mean I am, but like I don't care when the Celtics aren't.
Say yes.
And if I don't
Well,
have a grudge against other teams that are left, I really don't care.
okay. Yes, I understand. I will say though, these finals from the outside perspective, they are not incorrect. They've been buns. These Eastern Conference and Western Conference
Cry
finals, and
about it. Tell your team
like
to
you
be better.
said, like you
Tell
said, I
your
don't
team to
care.
be better and tell them to get there. Then you don't have to complain.
Oh, brutal, brutal. Game 6 in the Garden
Mhm.
on Friday night. What do the Celtics need to do? Is it as simple as come out, punch them in the mouth, make sure you do what you did in game 4? Is it like what's your main key if you had to give the Celtics one piece and they had
Number
to
one
listen to you?
key, try.
Okay.
Number one key is try. You know
Mhm.
why you were down a half in game 5? Because you didn't try. You gave up a bunch of offensive rebounds. You turned the ball over a bunch of times. Control what you can control. It's as simple as that. Even if you're not making shots, if you're playing good defense, you don't have to play a perfect game on the other end. If you're not playing defense and you're letting Miami get scores every time they come down the floor, then the pressure builds and you have to start being perfect. And that's when you start to panic, and that's when things get out of hand. If you just
Yes.
do what you can control, that doesn't happen. Look at the second half of game 5. I mean, they didn't shoot an astronomical percentage from the field. They just stopped turning the ball over. And they kind of stopped giving up offensive rebounds. They gave up a couple. but it was not as
They gave up
bad, and
10.
especially when they really mounted the run and took control of the game, they weren't doing that. That wasn't happening.
Mhm. Celtics gave up in the first half, they gave up 9 they actually gave up more offensive rebounds in the second half than the first half, which is crazy,
How
but the
many did they give up in
difference
the
is,
4th, though?
sorry, let me look. In the fourth quarter, they gave up 6.
They gave up 6, so they gave up 5 in the 3rd. Now, how many offensive rebounds
4
did
in
the
the third.
Celtics pull down in both halves? Because
The whole
in
game
the
combined,
first
you mean?
well, no, because they gave up 9 in the first half, and they gave up 11 in the second half,
10
but
in the second half.
they gave up 10.
Yeah, 10 in the second half.
So how many did they get themselves?
In the game, 6.
Celtics only had 6 total?
Mhm.
They must have all been in the second half.
4 in the second half, 2 in the first.
Yeah, so you
The
weathered the
difference is
storm.
the difference is in the first half, Miami scored 12 points on those offensive rebounds on the 9. They scored 2 points on those 10 offensive rebounds in the second because the Celtics played good defense still. In the first half, they would give up an offensive rebound and they just look around and then get an easy layup. As much as they were still giving up some of those offensive rebounds because the Celtics are longer than the Heat, but Robert Williams is going to help on the drive with Al Horford, which leaves 3 wings getting rebounds. I'm not trying to make an excuse. I'm just trying to explain why I think they give up so many. But they stayed engaged even when the Heat got those offensive rebounds. They shot 2 for 9 on second chance opportunities in the second half of that game, which was a massive improvement from the first half. Which I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but even if the Heat are getting 10 second chance opportunities or 9 shots off of second chance opportunities, if you hold them to 2 for 9, that's pretty damn good, right? He shot 7 for 10 on those opportunities in the first half. Like that's the difference right
And
there.
it
You
kills you.
staying locked in. And if you give up an offensive rebound, you don't have time to cry or wave your hands up or whatever. You have to stay locked in. That's what they did in the second half, and that was the major difference. In addition to that, 10 turnovers versus 5 turnovers, bingo, right? That's what I was going to say. You said try is your key. Mine was going to be just please take care of the ball, right? Like they're averaging 16 turnovers and losses and 12 and wins. It's clear as day right there. It is as clear as you could possibly make it. And that 16 is down from whatever it was after the 2 losses beforehand because you only had 15 in this one, right? So as clear as day, the problem is sitting in front of you. Don't turn the ball over, you win the game.
It's the mirror.
Miami cannot score in the half court. They are literally incapable of scoring in half court sets against the Celtics defense. They've been awful. If you don't give them transition opportunities to get out and run and get there before Boston's defense gets set, they have no shot. And you've seen that. That's exactly what's happened over the course of the series. Game 2, game 4, and game 5 cut down the turnovers. Miami doesn't get those fast break chances. They can't score in the half court. They score what 82 points, 80 points, and then what they score in game 2, 102. Sure. So that's the worst one right there. But it's right there. It's right in front of you. Don't turn the ball over. You win the game. If
It's
the
in the
Celtics,
palm of your hand.
yep.
You have it. And it's been the same story the whole series. The 2 games they've lost, it's been because they don't have they're not engaged. They
Yep.
weren't engaged in the 3rd quarter of game 1. They weren't engaged in the 1st quarter of game 3. Those are the 2 quarters that lost you 2 games. They were real bad losses for 1 quarter. And you just can't do that to yourself. They weren't
Couldn't
really even
agree more.
engaged in the first half of game 5, but they were good enough defensively.
Derek White was good enough to keep them in the
He
game.
carried them. Yes.
Him and Horford
Yep.
carried them. Without those two, they'd be screwed. What's up with Tatum, man? I mean, he pulled it back and he played well in
Shoulder.
the second half. Do you think he is injured and that's why he's shooting poorly?
I mean, I don't think he's injured in terms of something
Well, of
structurally is
course, but
wrong, but
like
he's feeling
something is
pain.
bothering him. Yes,
Yeah. I'm not
because
overly concerned about it. Especially if you take care of business in game 6, you have 5 days rest.
yep,
You have 5 that's like your incentive right there.
yeah,
Forget the risk of losing a game 7. I'm sick of this goddamn injury report.
I
I'm
agree.
so
And hey,
sick of it. New England Baptist Hospital can kick rocks, the sponsor of the injury report. I'm so sick of seeing you get advertisement. That is the best investment. I mean, we should sponsor it. The Bannertown injury report.
yep,
You know how
Yep.
much views we would get? That is
Plenty.
like that might be as much as worthwhile as a Super Bowl ad. The amount of, run you get.
And change it. I mean, I'll mention this here. We did change Bannertown Twitter. So if you are
Yes.
listening to the podcast, make sure to hop on Twitter and follow us at From Rafters Pod. We couldn't fit the in the handle, so that is why there's no the. And From the Rafters was taken. So we are From Rafters Pod, FromRafters on Twitter. Make sure to check us out there. You'll get the latest updates. I'll try to tweet out some clips and engagements and stuff so you get some news and everything in there as well. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Anyways, um, yeah, I mean, take care of business. Game 6. Hope the Mavericks take the Warriors to 7, and the Warriors are gassed. Right? We're all Luca fans. If the Celtics win Game 6, I would
Oh,
hope.
I'm not. I don't care
You
for
want
them.
the Warriors to take care of business as soon as
I don't
possible.
I don't really care. I just think there's enough time in between series, it's not really gonna matter that much.
Well, I think the more games you play in these in the conference finals, sorry, the more tired you'll be in the finals. I mean, that's just how it works. Even if you get a little break, obviously, but I would want. And I know you hate this argument for basketball's sake. It'd be cool to see Luca take him deep. I mean, that'd be fun. I'll put it this way.
Well, your
I
team's not
joked.
involved in the series, so it's fine.
Sure. Exactly. Exactly my point.
And
But
if I'm a Warriors fan, I'm telling you to go kick rocks.
which is fair. You can tell me to kick rocks. I said this in a newsletter I wrote for Enjoy Basketball. If there was any person on the planet to win the first 3-0 series in NBA history, it'd be Luca. That it's just true. If there's any person in the NBA right now who you could look at and say, "I wonder if they can win a 3-0 series," like just from the place of storylines and who they are as a player, it's Luka Doncic. You could argue Giannis, but I would pick Luka. If I had to win a 3-0 series and pick one player to carry the team, Luka Doncic is my choice. So
Which
I
is
think that'd be
crazy because he's
hilarious.
not even in shape. And
He's in the shape he needs to be
that's
in.
how good he is. Like, he doesn't even have to be in shape.
He's not in shape. He's in the shape he needs to be in to
I
play the
may be
ball
in
that he
better
plays.
shape than Luca is,
Okay,
in terms of what my body looks like.
stop. Cut that out
I'm
immediately.
not saying I'm more athletic than Luca, I'm just saying I might be in better shape than him.
No shot. I
I
you
don't
won't
know.
you won't sell me on that argument for a second.
Maybe Lowry then. Maybe I can sell you on that.
No,
Heat
you can't
culture
sell
has
me on
not
that
had
either.
its, effect on Lowry. He is
You
still
can't sell
not
me
in
on that
shape.
either. You telling me Lowry's not in shape? No, what it
He
is with
doesn't look like
Lowry.
it.
Yeah, exactly. He's not in shape. He's just built in a different shape than the rest of us, and I'll leave it at that.
Built like a
Yeah,
pear.
I'll leave it at I'll leave it at that. Lowry's pissing me
If he
off in the
was a
first
lady, he'd
half
be
of game
very
6.
desirable for a lot of men.
Jesus. Lowry's pissing me off in the first half of game 6, man. Not that it mattered in the end,
He's
but the
always
flopping
pissing
was
everybody
it
off.
was
That's
annoying.
his whole thing.
I brought it up because I want to talk about the Mark Jackson moment. I assume you saw on Twitter and stuff.
Mark Jackson, what did he say?
So I think it was Jalen. Remember when Lowry
Yeah, the
flopped and Jalen
elbow,
swung it?
and he
Mark
didn't hit him.
Jackson was like, I know Mark Jackson on the commentary, and they clipped it and put it on Twitter. It was like, "Oh, Jalen Brown got away with an elbow there,"
And
and
then they were
they
all like, "No, he didn't."
immediately show the replay. And Jeff Van Gundy goes, "No, he didn't," and then they all started laughing. It was really funny because Lowry just clearly flopped because JB
He's
didn't
an
touch him.
irritant,
But
man. If he was on your team, you'd like him, and I don't like him.
he's Marcus.
He's
He
not
is
on the
exactly what
Celtics.
Marcus does. Yep.
Yep.
Exactly what it does. Not complaining, just thought it was entertaining. Well, I was complaining because it's annoying when it's on the other team, but
He's annoying. That dude
yes,
loves hitting the floor.
it
So
does.
does Marcus Smart. Yeah, he does.
He does.
He
But
has an award for it.
if you're a Timberwolves fan, you love it when Pat Bev does it. If you're a Warriors fan, you love it when Draymond does it. If you're a Celtics fan, Marcus, Heat, Lowry, every team has one. I can't think of a single team that doesn't have a player that does that.
A
It's
single
just
good
because
team.
how they play. Sure. Most teams have it regardless. It's just they're less prominent when your team's not winning games. I'll put it there. What else did I have? There's something else that I wanted to talk about, but I can't think of it right now. Did you have anything? Help me out here.
Oh man, not really. I'm like real tired. I'm not trying to rap just yet, but
No,
I
no,
don't
no.
have
I had
anything coming to
something.
me. It's
I
it's
had
real
something I did
frustrating.
want to bring up, but I can't think of it anymore. One second, one second. Bear with us, guys. I'm not gonna cut this. I'm just gonna keep rolling because I definitely did have something that I wanted to discuss. Um, but I can't. I don't know. Oh, I mean, I can bring this up. This isn't it, but Is Gabe Vincent the Goran Dragic of this series, Sam?
Yeah, probably.
I
He's
put out
done
a
just enough to just irritate you.
Yep.
Even in game 5, like he came in and made a couple of shots and made it close again, and it's like just leave it alone, man.
Yep. I
I
put out the
just
meme, and it was
yes.
Goran Dragic in 2020 in the bubble. Gabe Vincent in 2022, the same picture. Obviously, not as big of a deal, I guess, because the Celtics are winning, but definitely the same
Well, then
irritating
I said,
thing.
I mean, you could just put Goran Dragic from this year. He was still a pain in the ass. The dude must have shot
He
60% for the
was.
series. That guy will not go away.
Yep, he was. I did find a couple things. One was what I wanted to talk about, but the other one I'll start with. In the last 15 years, Sam, I'm sure you saw this.
Oh, yes, I know what this is.
Jayson Tatum has more playoff wins than the Philadelphia 76ers.
But they also like punted away what is it, 6 years, 7 years of doing the process?
I don't care.
I don't care either,
I
but
don't care. Do you wanna know
it's
why I don't care?
remarkable.
Wanna know why I don't care? Because Jason Tatum has been in the league for how long? 5 years?
5 years?
So,
Yeah,
even in the last Jason Tatum in the last 5 years has accumulated more playoff wins than the 76ers organization has in the last 15 years. I mean,
so
that's
good.
truly incredible. That's just what a phenomenal achievement. Now, I'll ask you this because I know you're a Joel Embiid fan. You like Joel
Mhm. Yeah, I
Embiid.
like him.
Did he deserve to be on first team All NBA?
Yeah,
Or
probably.
you're allowed to use this as well. Do they need to change the way the voting is to just get
Yes.
rid of
That
positions?
that is
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
1,000% yes, especially the way the game is today. Um, I mean, it's a Jesus Christ, Sam, positionless game.
Yes.
Can you believe I do live stuff? Jeez, man, it's brutal. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I'm fine with the results. I just think Embiid should have been there. Who should have been off? I don't know. I think
I
Tatum
mean,
was high up in the voting.
Tatum
Was
had
he
the
the last one?
sixth most votes of any player in the
Okay.
league. So Embiid had more votes than him, but Embiid was the center.
Well, I mean, I don't really care for any of that, anyways. The actual like trophy awards are the ones I would care about if I was a player. Like first team is cool and all,
Well, you care about it when it determines your paycheck.
but that's come and gone for him. He said it. He said that's not a thing anymore.
True,
Tatum.
but I mean, you still like to be respected
Last year
by
he might
whatever.
care. And if you're the
Yeah.
Celtics, you're happy they didn't make it last year. It's less money you have to pay him. Less money that goes towards one player, which I do not like when guys make an astronomical amount of money. I mean,
It's the way
how
the
much
game
is
is.
Lowry getting paid? 30 million a year?
28 roughly, yeah.
28 million? Is he worth that?
No.
Going forward, is he going to be worth that?
No.
How much is Jimmy Butler's like going to be at like 50 million?
52 I think he makes at the end of
Is
the
he worth
contract.
that? No.
Let me read it to you. So, this year Lowry gets 26.9, next year 28.3, and then 29.68 in his 39-year-old season.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a
38 maybe.
player and you really want that much money and you're like on I mean, I guess if you're on the decline, it might be a little different, but I mean, you can't be that serious about competing. Miami is a unique situation because they drafted well and they
Mhm.
picked up like G League guys and developed them to where they can be rotational players and be effective. But if you're trying to put a team together, you can't have a guy just eating up all the money unless he's like a top 5 guy. $50
Okay.
million for one guy is ridiculous. I'm
It's a
sorry.
lot of money.
And Jimmy
It's the way
Butler's not one of those guys. I don't care how well he's played in this series or when he was healthy before this. It's just not the case.
it's the way
He's not
salaries are,
Giannis.
man.
He's not Luca. He's not KD. He's not
I think
Embiid.
we did this a few weeks back. Who would you give $50 million to? Right?
It's not
We
a
did
lot of
that game.
guys.
So what was it again? I don't have the list on
Giannis,
me.
Luca, uh,
Can't
LeBron was not
right now.
on there. I said KD, maybe. It
Hmm.
might be even shorter now.
Tatum.
In the situation they're in, the Celtics can do it for Tatum because he's going to be their guy going forward and he's also younger. I think the whole paying somebody a bunch of money is different when um they've always been on your team too.
Trey.
You drafted them. Not yet. I'm not paying Trey that much money yet. You're crazy.
He was on your initial list. Don't call
Was
me
he?
crazy. Yes, sir.
Well, if you're doing it, you're crazy. I was crazy then. I'm just thinking
That's
about it
fine.
now, and I'm just like, what are you gonna do with that? Like, that's a lot
Yeah,
of money to be paying
your list
someone.
was, and it might not have been a 50 mil. I think it was 4-year max contract
I
right
think it
now
was like
or something.
35 plus.
Okay. Your list was Tatum, Giannis, Luca, KD, Ja,
Ja's fine.
Embiid, Jokic, Booker, Trey Young. That's it. That was your list.
It's still
And
short, and it should be
yes.
short.
And the people on the border you said no to, or that I added,
Mitchell.
you said no to. Mitchell, Cat, Bam, LaMelo, Garland,
Oh,
and
Cat's not
Cade
getting paid.
Cunningham. Yep.
Nope, not paying any of those guys.
Is there anybody, this is just random. Is there anybody in the next few years you think could get onto that list that you would give a max contract to? A big one. I
Yeah,
know
it
you're stingy.
depends. Like Trey Young, who I mean, if it's like 35 million, it's different. I just think that Jimmy Butler contract's so ridiculous, man. 50
It's a
million
lot of money.
dollars for one guy that's not the best player in the league? What are
A
you
lot of money.
doing?
A lot of money.
That's old? That's
He
on the
is.
decline, who has knee issues? 50 million? I even think thinking about it, Ja could be a problem because his whole game's athleticism. If he gets hurt, he's not going to be the same. I don't want him
Yeah.
to get hurt. I like Ja. But if you're a
100%.
GM, you got to think about that.
Yeah. The other thing, we could go over. Do you want to do our playoff predictions reflection
Yeah, we can
now,
do
or do you
that.
want to do it after the Eastern Conference Finals ends? So we don't
Yeah, do it after the
sway.
the finals are set.
In that case, the last thing I wanted to talk about was your boy Sam. We got some news.
Ooh.
Your boy's no longer hurt, or he's making progress now.
Oh, Zion. Yes, I did see
Your
this.
boy, he is. What is the
All
word? He was been
all of a
cleared
sudden,
on his progress. Recent imaging of Williamson's right fifth metatarsal showed continued improvement. Williamson has been cleared in his return to play progression without any restrictions. So Zion will probably, barring any other setbacks, be playing next season in full with the Pelicans. If Zion is healthy, what are the Pelicans in the West in your eyes?
6 tops.
At best, 6.
Yeah, I think so.
I think they get up to top 4.
No.
I think they could be a top 4
So
team.
many good teams.
I don't care. I think they'll be. I mean, you think about this year. They made the playoffs. I know they didn't have the
Okay,
record to
so
show it, but
not to cut you off, but Utah is a team that's going to drop.
Utah. Sorry, I coughed. Teams that I think will definitely be better than the Pelicans. The Warriors, I think, will still be better than the
Mhm.
Pelicans. I'm saying definitely be better than the
Yep.
Pelicans. So
Yep,
they'll definitely
fine.
put above them. I think the Grizzlies will be above them, and I think
Mhm.
the Suns will definitely be above them. Any team else I could see, I'm not saying will be bad, but I could see being up and down. I think the Mavericks and the Clippers and the Nuggets are the only other 3 teams I think I would almost be close to putting above them. So I mean, at that point, I guess you could talk 7 seed, but I really think they have a chance at top 4. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I think they will, at bare minimum, be a play-in team. They're not gonna miss the play-in again. I mean, they made it this year. Like, they'll be a top 8 team, I'll put it that way, and I think they have a chance to sneak up into that top, home court advantage side, and that's high praise, obviously, but, I mean, they were good this year. The second half of the season, they showed they were good. They're
Yeah, they
young,
made
so they're
Zion wanna lose weight. He didn't wanna jump
exactly.
ship anymore, so
They're
that's saying something.
only improving. They have a top pick, the ability to make moves. I'm confident
They
in the
what pick do
Pelicans
they
next year.
have?
I think 8,
7?
9
Yeah, so that's fair.
redraft.
Forget
I
about the
think,
draft.
you flip that and Devontae Graham or something for, like, a Jeremy Grant.
If I'm
You're
them, I'm
telling me
not
that
flipping it unless, like, you really don't think the guy you get is any good,
why?
because you don't really have to win now. Zion's how old?
Yeah, but the thing
Ingram's
is,
how old?
it's not as simple as that because there's always a chance you don't hit the pick, right? Like,
No,
if
there
if
is. That's what I mean. If you don't think the guy you got's really that great, like,
well,
fine.
that's why you flip it beforehand. I'm saying if there, I guess you could say, if there's nobody they're sold on to be a big part of their future at that spot, you trade that for what? Jeremy Grant, maybe you get the Suns involved and you wanna flip them, Jonas Valanciunas and, hell, I don't know, Devontae Graham or something like that with that pick for DeAndre Ayton, see if they bite, uh, stuff like that. stuff like that. I think you could make a decent win now move with that. Help their already young core because they already have a ton of young players they need to develop. So adding more could maybe add to that clog, right? You think Jose Alvarado, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, all
Mhm.
great young pieces. Obviously Zion's still only like 21. They've got a nice pipeline there. I think you trade that pick for a
I
win now
just
piece.
don't like Zion. I don't like the way he has handled himself as a player that has done nothing in the league.
It's fair. It's fair.
And I think that's very toxic. And it's not his fault. It's just the way the league has become with players trying to do everything. And
I
it's
also
starting to
think,
kind of shift back now. You see the top teams have all been kind of built, not,
yeah.
teamed up.
I also think maybe it's a hot take. He probably still was really injured. He probably did have an injury he was dealing with.
No, I think he was injured, but he's also fat. Like he was fat.
He was big. Yeah. I think
Like
some of the
if you get
pictures were
fat and you're like jumping on those
glorified.
knees, you're gonna get hurt, and your feet are getting hurt.
Proven.
Yeah,
Yep.
like you're a professional athlete, like putting out excessive amounts of force on your lower body. Of course, you're gonna hurt yourself. I
Mhm.
don't doubt he was hurt. I just think also in the playoffs, he might have been joking, but he said something like he was sitting and he was gonna be a surprise for. He was definitely joking. I'm making myself sound stupid, but he was saying like he sat game 6 and he was gonna maybe try for game 7 or something. I don't
Zion?
know. Yeah, I think he said that.
Yeah, I think he did too. I don't think he was ever going to, but it was definitely entertaining. Anyways, that's all I had for today. We did 40 minutes. Sorry, this was probably not as Celtics focused as you guys might have wanted. I mean, they were
Dude, it's
so
hard after
dominant.
they
What do you
win.
expect? Yeah.
It's hard after they win. If they lose, like, we have stuff to complain about,
Yep.
but really, like, everything we've been complaining about
It's
was,
valid.
like, played out right in front of your eyes yesterday.
Yep.
They're not
Yep. Pretty
trying?
much.
Okay, they're not, like, pulling away with the game. Oh, look, they started to try, and they completely dominated the game. It's that simple. I've been screaming at the clouds all series that the Celtics should be able to control this, and it looks like they finally figured it out that, hey, we are a level above this other team.
About time. It's about time, man. But yeah. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We always appreciate it. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at From
Mhm.
Rafters Pod. I'll have to add it on the graphic somewhere for YouTube. But yeah, I'll throw it over to Sam.
Yes, thank you very much for listening or watching. Once again, follow at From Rafters Pod on Twitter. You'll get all the pods there. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to either Bannertown or Guy Boston. Will be there for all these pods. If you're on Guy Boston, we do the pregame 30 minutes before every game if we have enough bodies to do so. It's Jack, me, KJ, or Tim. Usually, an assortment of us four will be there. We've also come up with the idea of doing halftime. We did one for game 5. It was a lot of
Shout out
fun. I
Matt,
was fired up. Yes, Matt.
recommended
What's
viewer.
his last name? Henderson.
Matt Henderson, shout out.
Yes, he's always in the chats. Message Jack about it. We were like, yeah, we'll do it. What else are we doing? We're sitting there. I don't want to watch the halftime. Anyways, that was a lot of fun. And if you missed it, check it out because I mean, we actually like had some good talking points
I mean,
in
they
a
did everything
short
we
amount of
talked
time.
about, so maybe they
Yeah,
listened. Maybe he may
we
flip it
were
on.
kind of on the nose, which feels good. But if you're listening on a streaming service, make sure you follow. You'll get all the latest podcasts. If Jack doesn't tweet them, he did tweet the last one. We are back on the right track. And I'm sure they will be coming out
Going.
from the Raptors podcast account.
Yes, sir.
So make sure you follow there because that's where they'll be coming from. If you really don't want to follow, like we'll retweet them, but follow the account
Follow.
because
Come
I'm
on.
sure there's going to be all kinds of stuff coming from there. Make sure you follow Jack at Jack's One NBA. He's writing all kinds of articles. He's working on all kinds of websites. So if you want all the latest Celtic stuff, he will be putting it out. And if you want to see me complain or whatever I'm doing that day, you can follow me at Sam. That's our show for today.